Hello and welcome to Over Me with me, Andy.
And me, angry.
Why are you angry?
I'm angry because of what you've done today, Andrew.
Okay, who are you first off?
My name's James, and I have a temper right now.
Welcome, James.
I have a temper with you.
What's wrong, buddy?
I have a frustration in my body. It's coming from you.
Did I do something?
You know you did something. Don't act all coy. Wipe that smile off your face. Take that smile, put it in that drawer beside you.
A bit of Foley work.
There we go. ASMR. Emotional ASMR. Why? Why'd you do it?
Shall we say what I did first?
Well, what we did, as always, we played the campaign for North Africa. We played it really hard. We played it really good. We made some really, really good progress. As always, that's all we do. We made great progress, and we made some real strides. We got through big swathes of the operation stage we're in. But unfortunately, that meant that you were a little bit cheeky, weren't you, buddy?
Yeah, I was. Your Fort Magdalena, which is your forward base for all your fighters.
Yeah, all of my aircraft that I really like, or liked,
got overrun.
Yeah, just a fucking tad.
So I moved some infantry down from up north.
Yep.
And then the 7th Armored Division came hurtling across the desert. And there was a bit of a scrap.
A bit of a scrap.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a bit of a scrap. I got in a lot of trouble. My Fort Magdalena garrison, as well as my 3 guns that I had placed there, I know them as the 4-1, the 1-1, and the 2-1. That's what we call them in the biz.
Yeah.
Are in danger. When I say in danger, I mean one of them's dead completely. You blew them to smithereens, one of my guns.
Got a free gun.
You got one of them as a gun. You now have that. You also got some prisoners from Fort Magdalena, and the rest of them ran with their tail between their legs. Westward is where they went.
Which is not the way you want to be going, because...
East is where you are.
Yeah.
So they're going the wrong way. You came in with overwhelming force, and it is by far the most devastating attack there's been so far in this conflict.
Yeah. Because there's a moral adjustment between the 2 units.
There's also some sort of moral obstacle, which should usually exist.
No,
you don't seem to encounter that.
No. So there's a difference between the moral rating, which affects it. I think that came out, you had -3, I had +2.
Yeah, so all units have a morale rating, and my guys start, for the most part, with -3, because, you know, I feel like a -3 morale at the moment. So they also had that, so they have -3 morale.
Yeah.
And
then there was a divisional size difference.
Yeah, it's a divisional size, so how big the units are going up against each other.
I think the morale shifted at 5, the unit size shifted at 9 columns.
So yeah, you had +2 morale, I had -3, so you had differential of 5. Moved the column 5 ways in your favour. The organisational size moved it another 4, so that's a total of 9 movement points.
Yeah.
And then also just the actual assault rating.
Yeah, which was 41 for me.
41 for you, yeah.
Yeah, and yours was...
Mine was 1.
1, yep.
1, not 41, just 1. So the column goes from...
-17 to +17. +17 is overwhelming. You literally overrun the enemy's position.
When it gets to, I think, when it's +12, it's overrun. It's overrun.
Yeah.
+17, it's overrun, and it's harder to get out of.
Yeah, that's...
So you would have done that with just the defense ratings alone. Everything else was just the cherry on top.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been 13 with just the modifiers.
So a total differential of just... 49 overall is the total differential.
Yeah.
And the chart from one end to the other doesn't go to that.
Yeah. And then I had one of my good rolls. So I rolled the max damage I could do.
Which is taking out 50% of everybody involved in that conflict. So 50% means, half. Would you believe it? I'm sure you guys are smart enough to figure that one out. I certainly was, based on the pale face that was looking over at Andy when it happened. So 50% of everyone's gone. And then you roll to see how many of them are dead and how many of them are prisoners.
And 50% prisoners.
That's right. So a quarter of everybody involved in that fight is dead. And another quarter are captured, which means 1 gun and 1 tow point of infantry.
Yes.
So Fort Magdalena, what's left of that garrison is running away to the west. Some of them are now in your hands. So technically none of the Fort Magdalena guys died. None of the garrison died.
No.
But my guns did. A lot of my guns were were absolutely whiffed.
Captured.
Yeah, captured or gone. Completely gone.
So, and also the SGSUs, which I guess is the crux of why this is important.
Yeah, you mentioned it's my forward operating fighter airbase. So I had 6 squadrons there, and one of them was not operational because you bombed the airstrip last time. So it meant that one of them wasn't refitted. The rest of them were well on their way to being refitted. I was doing those rules today, getting all giddy, thinking, oh, these guys are ready for round 2, come next stop stage. And there you go, rocking up, showing up in full force, and absolutely decimating my garrison, forcing them to the west. And then you use the remainder of that movement phase to walk into the airfield and do what you erroneously did in the past, but this time we know it's definitely the case. You walked in there and you executed my SGSUs.
Yeah.
Which means even if I managed to take that place back, I don't have the men to fuel and refit those planes.
Yeah, there's, is it 72 planes?
Mm-hmm.
Just out of commission for you, basically, unless you get an SGSU all the way there.
Yeah, so it's a devastating thing to happen as a friend, and even worse as a commander.
Yeah. Did you start with about 200 planes?
That's a bit of a personal question.
I mean, I can look it up.
Yes.
So you did?
No, I actually think I started with quite a bit more.
Oh, okay.
Are we talking refitted or just in general?
I was just wondering how much of the air superiority I've managed to chunk off you.
In general, I'm pretty sure you've taken off a decent chunk. I'm going to quickly try and have a little flick over towards the scenario section as we speak. But I'm almost certain that what you've done is absolutely destroy my air superiority to a pretty embarrassing degree, to be honest.
No, by the looks of this, you have a lot more planes.
I mean, I'm looking at it now. I've got, 65, 70, 10, 24, 133, 17, 56, 10, and 9. So it's not an insignificant amount that you've taken out. You've taken out, eyeballing that, maybe a quarter.
Which is, I'm very happy with.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
There's also, I guess, a big part of it is they're all fighters, which means, you can still bomb and stuff, but your screens are probably going to be pretty
thin or non-existent.
Yeah, you're going to kind of have to rely on, no scramble, hopefully,
or just the sheer number of bombers mean that I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go for targets that aren't near an airbase, basically.
Yes.
So that really hamstrung my Air Force to a scary degree. So I'm really not happy about that. I put up a good fight. I launched 3 separate barrages. However, turns out they did not have enough ammo to really do anything significant. So the chance I had of taking you out, I think, of the 30-odd, was it 36 potential outcomes on the dice overall?
Yeah.
Of the 36 potential outcomes, I think 3 of them would have resulted in me pinning you. And of course, I didn't roll those 3 results. So nothing happened when I tried to barrage you.
Yeah.
No real significant change. So that was lovely to see.
Yeah, and then it was the 2nd Rifle Brigade, the Northumberland Fusiliers, and the 1st King's Royal Rifle Corps.
Yeah.
With the infantry involved, and they supported the 7th Armoured Division, which currently has no infantry assigned to it.
Yeah, because I tried to barrage your infantry units so that I could essentially invoke the combined arms rule, which means that if you don't have infantry supporting your armor, which it massively reduces that capability. So if I'd got rid of them with the barrage and pinned them, your tanks would have been significantly less effective.
I think in this case I would still have been on the plus 17, because
yes,
what you can lose from the tanks is 4 assault points worth, which is basically, because you times it by 10, divide by 10, 40. If you put 40 close assault points plus in of tanks, they will still be able to do stuff.
Yes, so even if I had got rid of them, I still would have been in a lot of trouble. I just would have been in slightly less trouble. Means I maybe would have felt a little bit better about it, but yeah, in terms of the actual table, everything material stays the same. If anything, it would actually just mean that I have fewer targets to pick from when I do the damage. I would be taking off... The maximum I could do is 10% damage. I would be taking off 10% of a smaller force.
Yeah.
So it actually works out better that all of them showed up, so I could have hurt them more.
But yeah, I don't think... Well, no, you didn't do any losses though, did you?
No, I didn't. Thank you for reminding me of that. Didn't take out a single one of you guys there.
But yeah, other than that sort of big lunge in, sort of in the middle of the map for Magdalena, sort of halfway up.
It's fairly north, actually. Yeah, I think it's probably
yeah.
maybe a third from the top.
Yeah, that's probably closer. But up near the coast, I've pulled a lot of my units back away from your big massing around the 1st and 2nd Libyan divisions. Pulled them back to Sidi Barani.
Yes. Yeah, you made a bit of a tactical retreat. You've moved your... moving forward, though, you moved, is it the 2nd Indian Division?
4th.
4th.
Yeah, they're coming up the road. They're sort of... They've moved up to a point now where they will be relevant in the next op stage for combat, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that because they're big. They're a division. You know, they've got some scary capability.
Oh, yes.
And when you compare them to something like what was formerly the Fort Magdalena garrison, now 100 men running scared through the desert. Yeah, something like that showing up at my front door is going to be real fucking bad news. So, not looking forward to that happening, which it will very soon. However...
You did respond in strong style.
I did. I did not let that slide. I moved in the Mileti division, and I moved in the... the second black shirts. Second black shirts. So, I've then moved straight over to my airfield that you're now occupying with your...
They've headed to Magdalena.
Yes, your 7th Armoured Division. And who else is it that's in there?
The 2nd Rifle Brigade.
Yes.
And then there's 2... Because there's a stacking point rule. I don't know how much we've mentioned about this, but you can only have a certain amount of units in each hex, and that depends on the hex type. So you can only have 6. A full division, I think, is always 5?
Yeah, I think it caps out at 5,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's the 7th, and then there's 1 stacking point of infantry, which is the 2nd, and then 1 hex to the north, there's the Fusiliers and the 1st King's Royal Rifle Corps.
But I've left them alone. I've left those guys to the north. Instead, I've come round to box in Fort Magdalena so that you will leave my airfield, ideally. And if not, you will be killed there and then, because the force I've brought is so terrifying that you will not know what hit you. But I'll tell you what will hit you. The Mileti Division.
And the black shirts.
The 2nd black shirts. That's who's going to hit you.
And then you fired your 4th have gone nuts.
They have made a real push.
They've pushed quite a way past my lines.
Yeah, so my 4th black shirt division, I've pushed them real far east. They've moved across the border into Egypt along a track.
Did they expend more? Did they push themselves CPA-wise?
There had to be a push for some of them, because some of them are infantry that aren't motorized, which meant that they wouldn't have been able to do that off, bog standard.
Right, so some of them have gone into negative cohesion.
Yes. In fact, the ones that, the lowest one had to go to maximum overexertion of double their CPA.
Is that probably 8, I'm guessing, CPA?
Yes, it is. It's 8 CPA that they've exerted.
That is rough.
Yes, they went... Oh, it might have been 10, actually. Maybe it was 10.
10's bad.
Yeah.
Are they properly supplied with water?
They are properly supplied with water.
The pasta point's not getting them next turn.
No, the pasta point's not getting those boys. Pasta point's also only per turn.
Yeah, next turn, if they don't get resupplied, I was thinking they'd just go feral because they didn't get their pasta.
No, they'll be resupplied. They'll be resupplied.
Will they?
They'll be resupplied by your men, because I'm going to come for your trucks, Andy. I'm going to show up. I'm going to take your trucks. I'm going to cut the wheels off them. I'm going to climb into the truck. I'm going to gobble up all your food. Okay. And then I'm going to gobble up all your fuel.
It's interesting to have a plan that entirely relies on enemy supplies.
Well, that's what happens at war, all right? You go over to the enemy supplies, you go, hello, and you take them for your own. Yeah. They're mine.
Oh, speaking of trucks, we forgot something. My long-range desert group are in play. They didn't.
Oh, I didn't forget this
They
because
didn't
this was a
raid
bit of
successfully at all.
a whoopsie on your part.
No, whoopsie. It's just the dice.
So, as you all know, Andy's been bigging up the long range desert group for the last 5 weeks or something. And then they rock up in the game, and I'm like, oh god, not the long range desert group, the scariest guys in the desert. So they show up, they appear next to my trucks, and I go, oh no.
Also,
this is a good convoy of mine. I was very worried looking at what cargo they were carrying. So when you appear on the map, I'm like, right, this is going to be bad.
Also, just a thing there, I've been doing some more research into possible future topics for the history segment.
Right.
The long-range desert group are terrifying. They are not the scariest guys in these deserts. I don't even think particularly close.
You know what? Based on what happened today, I believe you, because they showed up, and I was thinking, this is it, my trucks are done for. And then he rolled on the die, and I didn't realize how unlikely they are to do anything.
Yeah, they need a
one or two,
and then 3 to 6 if they're raiding. They're very fragile if they raid enemy units that can fight back.
Yeah, because it's 1 or 2 is a success.
Yeah,
and then 3 to 6 is a failure. But if they've got combat capability, the people they're up against, they get wiped out, don't they?
Yeah. If there's with trucks, for instance, if there was a replacement point in the truck,
yeah,
then they die on a 6, I believe.
Wow.
If the trucks only have replacement points in them, they die immediately.
On a 3 to 6?
No. Because I don't know what's in your trucks.
Okay,
so theoretically later on you could have a truck that's only carrying replacement points.
And if that's the case, whatever you roll, they die.
Yeah, because that's a battalion of soldiers. They're just not...
They're not equipped
formed
for that.
Like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, so I thought it was on a 1 to 2 they succeed, and then if they fail, the failure also kills them?
No, they if there's opposition to them, so like if they raid an airfield with enemies in,
yeah,
then there's a chance they die.
But only a chance.
Yeah, if they raid a supply dump with a unit on it, there's a chance. But the chance is 1 in 6. So it's significant. If you're pushing them directly into enemy danger, like, that's not what they're for, basically.
And I guess the deeper in you go, the more likely that is to happen, because the closer you go to my headquarters, my
backlines.
Yeah, the further west you go, the more likely you are to encounter replacement points that are en route to the front line.
Yeah. But also, this time, I guess I'm likely to encounter supply dumps you've not fought to guard, or trucks you're not as worried about guarding, because once they've moved, they disappear off the map.
But this time, you showed up at my first group of trucks, and it was a fail.
Yep, they were all 3s, all 3 of the rolls.
Yep, every single one was a miss.
Yeah,
a big failure, and then they disappeared into the desert. But you know what? I'm not too worried about them showing back up.
No,
I think if they show back up, you know what I'll say? Oh,
okay. Because they can fuck you up quite badly if it works.
No, I don't think they can. I think it's all show. I think you've been talking big talk for the last 5 weeks, and then in actual practice, they're not really that scary.
I think they should be stronger than they are. It might just be because I'm playing them, but after researching them, I do think they should be...
I guess what they are good at, similar to the description in everything you've read so far, is they are very good at getting away. They can maneuver incredibly well. What they're good at is surviving.
Yes.
But it's just a case of, I guess, those raids are touch and go. And the raids themselves, I mean, the fact that you got to 3 of my truck convoys in a single op stage and had a chance to raid every single one and had enough movement to then disappear into the desert again, goes to show how capable they are.
Oh, yeah.
So that is an impressive feat.
And later on, it won't happen in the scenario, but in the full game, when they get the SAS attached to them, it's the combo of the 2 where they become... a genuine terror.
Yeah, which I'm really not looking forward to.
No.
That's actually looking forward as well. We had another moment today, well, I certainly did, where I remembered the scale of the game and how terrifying it is that I have to wait so long for help, which is when you attack Fort Magdalena, and one of my guns had 2 asterisks, bloody hell, next to their anti-tank rating, which is 0 at the moment, but it had a 2 with the 2 asterisks, and it said that In turn 63, they get a rating of 2 instead of 0.
Whew.
Those guns are dead. Those guns were taken today.
Yeah.
I can get more of them. It's a type of gun.
I've captured them, so could I... Does that apply to me?
I guess if maybe the research notes end up in your hands as well, and then you also upgrade them. So I suppose
you know
yeah.
you can rifle this.
So yeah, it does mean that there is the issue of some of my units can be a lot stronger later down the line.
Yeah.
But it's much later down the line. Your tanks nearly broke down on the journey to the airfield.
I actually rolled I had a good session roll-wise, because...
Well, you rolled flawlessly. You didn't roll a single thing that wasn't the best you could roll.
Yeah, so I got no
apart from long range.
I had no breakdowns this upstage. They either weren't moving far enough, or I got lucky on the rolls. So, worked out very well for me in terms of breakdowns. Yeah,
in terms of everything.
Yeah.
The long range desert group, while it didn't successfully raid, you did give me that little bit of anxiety. What did freak me out a bit is when you showed up at one of the trucks, the convoys, and tried to raid them, and then you moved it off the board again and went, right, they're gone. And I was like, all right. And then I realized, hang on a second, this isn't the end of them. I know how much they can move. And then they reappeared next to some more trucks. Tried it again, disappeared. Tried it next to a third. When they failed, I'll be honest, I thought a fourth attempt was going to happen somewhere else. So I'm very glad that didn't occur.
And then it disappears off into another room in my house.
Yeah, you actually went so far as to walk into your bedroom to hide the game piece. Whereas all I got to do today in terms of hiding game pieces was putting the gun unit that died into a little cardboard box that we've got.
You've named the coffin.
Yeah, I've named it the coffin. It was previously used for our D&D dice. And now it's a... what does it say on it again? When we were organising the pieces...
This is for CFNA. Do not throw out, and then a bunch of exclamation marks.
Yeah, because we were using that initially to organise my game pieces before we did all the...
All of them.
Yeah, what it was before we did all the blue tack stuff. I put them into little plastic baggies and then put them in there, and you had your medicine boxes.
Yeah.
So they're gone, poor guys. And I've got a fight ready to really kick off.
Have you didn't resolve the breakdowns for the movement yet, did you?
I have not. So that means I have to determine whether or not the fourth... You know what? Is it the fourth? No, the second, the ones that are engaging you, they've lost a tank in the desert.
Already before this? Yeah.
Yeah, they lost a tow point of tanks.
Yeah, so the 7th is down 3 tanks as well.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
And
from last turn.
Yeah. I remember you lost some tanks.
Oh, so your guys who pushed past their CPA, their trucks have a good chance of...
Their trucks have some real dangerous...
Especially the lights, because the lights have that +1 for everything they move through.
Don't know that they've got many lights. I think they're heavies and mediums.
That's probably...
It's better.
Yeah.
But it does mean that there's more cargo to lose.
They all move 2, don't they?
Yes.
So there's not lights aren't taking more, but less likely.
Yes. So yeah, it does mean that if they break down,
boring you?
Got a yawn going on there.
Yourself?
Oh, very sorry. Yeah, the campaign for North Africa is a thrilling game. It's like an adrenaline shot in the arm. No, sorry. As I was saying before, a wave of lethargy came over me. Was that if I do lose those trucks, what I will do is take yours, which is the plan anyway. So I'll either have a lot of trucks, or I'll have the same amount of trucks, but they're all painted your colour.
If you can get...
I can. And you know the reason that I need to push for this?
Why are you so certain you can? I don't actually get that.
Because I boxed you into a position there.
They can just go backwards.
It's tactical. If you push them further east, then they are no longer going to be able to support your men.
They don't have to go that far.
But if they go far enough, that there's going to be a bit of a disparity. Otherwise, they end up behind.
I know, but...
They end up boxed in between my guys regardless.
No. Okay, we'll see how this plays out.
No, I see how this plays out. I know exactly how this plays out.
I don't think it's going to play out the way you want it to.
I think this is going to play out perfectly.
I think they're going to be smashed to pieces and die.
The black shirts?
Yes.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
This is not a one-step plan.
Oh, okay. sacrifice a division for no reason. Step 2.
Well, I'm working on step 2. No, I haven't. I can't tell you the plan, obviously, but there is a material plan.
Okay. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
It's all or nothing.
Because they are very much going to get... I said 3 when we were having a cigarette before. There are 2 divisions who can move in on them, and what is essentially a division worth of loose units.
Yes, I know there's a lot of guys that are coming for them, but that's actually part of the plan.
Oh, okay.
I understand that the situation they're in is possibly the most dangerous any unit's been in so far, apart from the Elsevier garrison and the Magdalena garrison, solely because they were decimated. I think that these guys will definitely be in for a rough time. I think that there's a chance a good chunk of them would survive, but I'm also acutely aware that they are not going to be a functional unit to the extent they currently are by the end of this plan. This plan does not end with them having some last-minute Hail Mary overwhelming victory. So I hope you know that if you decimate them, then that's kind of accepted. But there's going to be a big payoff if it also goes the way I'm hoping.
Okay.
So watch this space for that.
Yeah, I am interested to see how that plays out, because
Well, I know exactly how you feel about it, because we had a cigarette before, and we were having a little chinwag about this,
Yeah.
and you started laughing maniacally.
Yes, I have plans for them as well.
You were wandering around in your backyard, laughing to the skies when I was talking about them, when you realised what units were around them. And it was again, genuinely chilling. I think you've lost it today. I think the powers went to your fucking head. And I was really genuinely worried for a moment. But then I remembered that this is actually, if anything, just a benefit to me.
That I have a plan.
That you have a plan. Because the more that you try and plan around this, the more surprised you'll be when you realise that my plan also exists.
I would love it, just the roll's terrible, 100% of the trucks break.
And then my guys have to limp towards your trucks, otherwise they're dead.
Then they just get pinned by bombers, and they just die in the desert.
Oh god, if my guys get pinned by bombers, then I'm in so much trouble. And there's definitely nowhere nearby that can scramble to that area.
Yeah, we are getting into... Yeah, it's. I'm enjoying the back and forth now of... We both seem to have plans that are being foiled and executed, and...
Well, now it actually feels like we're playing the game.
Yeah.
In the sense of it's a tactical arrangement. It's not just us setting up game pieces and trying to understand the rules. But, I mean, there's been quite a bit of that today, because the first hour and a half today of us playing, parentheses, wasn't actually us playing the game. We spent about an hour and a half looking through a lot of comments that we had on a Reddit post that we put up recently.
Sort of companion to the War Room 100 Days recap.
Yes, so a lot of you have mentioned in the correspondence you've sent that you found the podcast through the Reddit post that we put up about 100 days ago. And that was when we'd initially magnetized the board, did all that, all that jazz. And lots of people followed on the back of that. So we thought with the 100-day recap, we would also put an updated post up detailing a bit of the experience so far. And a lot of you who already listen dropped in some comments. Lovely to see you guys in the section. A lot of the references made there, they fell on
demands for
ears.
ponchos?
Yes, demands for ponchos, deserts of our mind, and of course, subtle, humble, and brave. Some people who hadn't heard of the experience so far, but knew of the game, have chipped in with some comments. And there was a guy in particular who has dropped in some comments that have been very interesting to read, because it was all about the tactical shipping segment, which, as you may remember, is a phantom. It does not exist. Yeah. It's mentioned in the sequence of play, but there's no rules that detail coherently how it would exist. So when this guy started talking about it, he gave a very detailed explanation about why he thinks it exists. And there was a bit of back and forth. He mentioned it being in the sequence of play. And as he got further into it, he has revealed that he has actually played some scenarios. In fact, the guy even links on the comment a link to a website of his where he's got spreadsheets, which are, I'll be honest, much more extravagant than ours.
Yeah, much more intricate than ours.
The detriment I think it has is his are very, very detailed, but it seems to be, you described it earlier as a sort of a scratch and replace of, it doesn't have a rolling
It
total.
doesn't seem to. I am definitely going to
We'll have to
spend some
double-check,
time
yeah.
looking into them, because it's got all the formulas and stuff. There's definitely some stuff we can lift from them.
Yes. It looks like his spreadsheets, perhaps, you update them every time, but you don't have a track of every single turn, maybe, which is what we want to do. We want to have a record of everything. However, nonetheless, we were massively impressed, and it turns out, overall, the consensus is that the tactical shipping segment really doesn't exist in the way that the book describes it. So we're very glad that we were right, but we're also a little bit disappointed that it really doesn't exist. We were hoping this guy would prove us wrong.
Yeah. I think from the comment I saw, he's been doing some of the stuff in the truck and convoy stage. They were doing that in their tactical shipping phase, which I guess that is a thing with this as well, is that it's so sprawling and complicated, and there is issues in the rule books to the point where each group that plays it, I guess, is going to be having a certain level of interpretation.
Yes, which the game does encourage. It says if there's any instance where the rules don't make sense, take a common sense approach. The issue is the paranoia sets in when I see something that doesn't make sense, that the game's so detailed it must be explained somewhere. So we spend ages fretting over it. It's stuff like the camel rules, the camels. You know what, this guy, he says he's played the game before. Why didn't he mention the camels? Why didn't he explain what happens with them? He's not answering the real questions. But no, what he did do is, he sent a link to that. The spreadsheets are very cool, and the description of on his website, it seems to detail that he's played the Desert Fox scenario, and that a year ago he started playing this situation, Graziani's Offensive, this scenario. Doesn't look like he's finished that from what I can gauge. It looks like that was played online. Which
he did.
I can't imagine trying to figure that out.
He did link a Discord that had a little look through. Yeah, I mean, that seems even more insane than what we're doing to try and play.
To try and play this online
like,
is
almost like by correspondence.
Yeah,
so
I don't
good
think
luck
that's
to them in that effort.
Yeah, God, I
couldn't do it.
Hope they can do that, but
Yeah.
I'm having trouble doing this, and we've never done anything remotely. We've always done this in person. I can't imagine anything being worse than trying to play this game remotely. Yeah. So credit to them, especially if it's with strangers online. The amount of, just communication itself, like it's so underrated, the fact that we know each other very well. So when we're actually having conversations about this, we've got a bit of a shorthand when it comes to conversations, so we can navigate things fairly easily when it comes to rule disputes and stuff like that.
It's slightly different, but we've been homebrewing D&D for close to a decade now, so we do have that sort of framework for, well, this benefits one of us, not the other. Keep that bias in mind when you're making your point type thing.
Yes. Well, the way we do it in D&D is often, because I take the role of Dungeon Master for our games of D&D, and the sort of precedent I'll always set if we find something that's a bit, yes or no, is that, well, we can implement this rule, but bear in mind this rule now exists in the world. So for everything that benefits the players, all of the monsters and the bad guys will get to use this rule as well. And I guess it's the same thing for this. That has
softened a lot of the ambiguity we've run into in D&D.
It really has. I've noticed that. And I guess the same applies for this. It means when we're having that sort of ambiguity, we look at it from an objective standpoint of this will affect both of us throughout the course of a decades-long playthrough. And when it comes to the tactical shipping segment, doesn't exist. I guess that's fine. The other segment that was mentioned in
there was also the
comment,
combat ratings with the division, multiply, plus subtract being different in every...
Yes, I think we've mentioned this before as well. Yeah. I guess if anyone wants to check this out, it's if you search, it's I think one of the top posts on the Hex and Counter subreddit, and it's quite good on the board game subreddit at the moment as well. I'm sure you'll find it if you search Campaign for North Africa, then you'll be able to track it down fairly easy. Posted in the last few days, so have a look at that. The comments are rife with interesting information, but I don't have the guy's username to hand. I also don't know if he would want me to shout him out because I don't know if he listens. But if you can find his comments, he's on there. But thank you very much if you do listen. That was very insightful, and the back and forth really, what it did give me that sense of...
solidified it for us, I guess.
Yes.
It's like, is that the case? And we went through and checked and had a bit of back and forth with him. But I think that was good to assuage our fears almost for that and good back and forth overall.
Yeah, really interesting points made from someone who's actually played the game. And it gave us, I guess, a bit of vindication that we are confident enough to actually discuss the game at length with somebody online and make irrefutable points that we genuinely believe wholeheartedly are true, which is crazy because when we started looking at this back in November of last year, if anybody ever came to me and said, I've played part of this game, I think this is what this rule is, I'd go, of course that's what it is. If you say that's what it is, I don't know any better. But I'm at the point where that rulebook is burned into my mind, and those points that have frustrated me to no fucking end, I will die on a hill to prove that they are the way that I believe they are. But the second point that really gave to me is that there are people who've played the scenarios for this game before.
Yes, that does
not
is
the full thing,
encouraging.
maybe.
Very.
The fact that there are people out there who've played parts of the game, and if there's anyone out there listening who knows anyone who's played parts of the game, or, God, the whole game, maybe yourself, maybe you've played part of the game, please reach out. Please tell us what the experience was like. What would be amazing as well, if anybody has played this back in the era of pencil and paper.
I'd love to just see some pictures of, like, what does the, like, whatever paper log system look like?
That would be insane.
At the end of a scenario or a game, like... Have you seen the pictures of the, the NASA calculations to go to the moon, where they're all on paper? And
yes.
There's the woman who did them with the, like, stack that's as tall as her.
Yeah.
I'm, like, picturing that, but much more pointless.
I'm picturing that, except it's 12 stacks. And, yeah, it's useless information.
Yeah.
So that would be, if anybody has any information on that, please get in touch. We would absolutely love to see that. And I think now that we're getting in touch with, these people who have had experiences with it, it just reminds me that how long this game has been out, there has to be people who've played more scenarios. God, maybe even people who finished the full game.
Yeah.
And hearing from anybody who's done that, at this point, I'm actually quite excited to hear about people who've finished it in full. A little bit disappointed if it happened, but at least we'd get to hear about experience and just see how it looks when it's played out. And we had a real positive moment today when we realised that at the moment we're averaging somewhere between 2 and 3 play sessions per op stage.
Which hopefully if we keep that up, it's only 11 years or whatever instead of 60.
Yeah, that puts us at around 11 years to finish this thing, which is a very realistic standpoint. That means we can do it.
Yes.
It's no longer something that can't be done.
Yes.
And if we keep up this cadence, this play, and we'll likely have some sessions that don't have as much involvement, that don't have a whole lot of combat. We'll also, I imagine, have some big weekend days where we can play for a lot longer. I genuinely think less than a decade is doable.
Which I'm so happy about, because, as we were going through it, I think it was a couple episodes ago, it was like, the current rate is like 60 years.
Yeah, I think it was even last week. Well, we didn't play last week when we recorded the 100-day recap, but we have today, and it's changed vastly already. Yeah. It's spun round, but I think, I think it's going great. It's going great. Very good play session today. Very much enjoyed it. You're a real scumbag for doing what you did, Andy. However, I'm going to get you back in kind.
I'm looking forward to you being a scumbag because you've done something.
I have done something. But speaking of people getting in touch via Reddit, how about we... listen to that telegram blaring out. Oh, how I've missed that sweet...
Oh, you've changed it.
Yeah, sorry, it fell off a little bit there. Batteries are running low. We've had some correspondence, and once again, you've all came in firing off some mighty important questions, and also giving some mighty important opinions. However, at the moment, we're going greatly into brass tacks, and that is, how does the game work fundamentally? Because of a question from Martin. And Martin has said in the podcast, you've mentioned dice rolling using 6-sided dice, but with results ranging from 11 to 60 plus. Could you explain how this works?
That is a good question, because it is a dice system I've never encountered before.
No, it's bizarre. And we've played Not a lot of board games,
No.
mostly D&D. But with D&D, you get all sorts of
you got
different
loads
types of
options.
dice. Loads of different types.
In
However,
this- yes, we've mentioned the box comes with free dice, and we think we may have got
an extra.
a bonus dice. So you have a slightly bigger D6 and a slightly smaller one, because everything is resolved by the roll of either 1 or 2
Yes.
D6s. So for most things, the number you get is the big dice is the 10s, and the little dice is the
units.
unit. So like a 3 on the big one, and a 4 on the little one is 34.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird. It's out of 36, but
Yeah, so you can't roll a 39, for example, because you roll a 3 on the big die, you got your 30, and it only goes up to 36. So 66 is the highest number you can roll. 11 is the lowest you can roll. So it does omit some numbers between 11 and 66, which is something I constantly forget, where I'll look at the scale on a table, and it'll say, 11 to 24. And I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. And then I remember, well, no, that omits a lot of numbers.
yeah, that's
17 is not, there's no 17.
yeah.
So 17 to 20, that's not actually a potential result. So I see that and I'm realizing, right, okay, that's actually, it's not that great of a likelihood to succeed on this particular roll. And then he said, check, I'm also in D&D mode still. So that's how it works. It's fairly straightforward in essence once you see it. It's just really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like Andy says, it's not a dice system I've ever come across, and I don't understand why they did it this way. Because back then there would have been other die systems that would have worked.
D&D existed by then, I think,
Yeah, well,
which used all 7.
maybe not at the start of development.
Oh, because D&D is like 70.
I want to say 77. Might be wrong with
Oh,
that.
so then yeah, campaign for North Africa is
It actually
quite a bit before.
predates. Yeah. So Dungeons and Dragons. Let me have a little look here. When did it come out? Dungeons and Dragons. When did it come out? When did it start exist? 74. Sorry, 74. It existed.
But yeah, so yeah, this game does predate it at least.
Well, 70. Yeah, because this game was in development for a long
I think
time.
it came 71.
Yeah. So yeah,
It was
that.
a 2-year development.
Yeah, so that means that this game was actually already in development by then. So yeah, well that explains that a little bit, but it's a good question because the dice system is very confusing at first glance. But when you get into it, it's just comparing it to a lot of tables.
It's a 36 chance. It's just
It's scaled very weirdly, so you don't really get an idea as to how likely it is until you realize the system. But a very good question, Martin. And something that unfortunately we have to live with. I would much prefer it to be a D20 system or something else that makes a bit more sense.
I've got one.
Go for it.
Hello, James and or Andy. I've been holding you to account since your collaboration with Cam Sandwich, and I've just caught up. It is very interesting to see how operational scale wargames play, given I am more used to playing tactical scale games.
Stick to them.
Yep.
Stick to them.
I have a question. Do regular army units, which were heavily decorated for gallantry, such as the 28th Māori Battalion New Zealand Infantry, have special rules to reflect their actions in reality? Thank you for your sacrifice. Your most humble, subtle, and brave of servants, Ethan. So,
Well, I guess depending on where you're up to, Ethan, you might have heard about the Long Range Desert Group. So they are, I guess if you're up to here, you probably have. So they are... Yeah, well, Andy said earlier that they're maybe, if anything, underpowered based on what they do. But they do have a separate rule set based around their notoriety. And there are other units that do seem to have some bolstering to their capability.
the SAS have their own unique rule sets.
Yes. Commandos have their own unique rule set
Yes,
overall.
the Lafayette Commandos and Commandos in general.
Yes.
And then also... It's not a unit, but you can do a flotilla raid, which has special units, which reflects a event in the actual war where some Germans in I think, individual submersible things snuck into the harbour and blew a bunch of stuff up.
Yes, I got to do that raid once in the entire game.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting one when the full campaign rolls around.
Yeah, because I think that can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I can basically decimate a port.
Yeah. As for the 28th Maori, yeah, they are very heavily decorated. They don't have special rules per se, but they do in the unit characteristics. Their unit characteristic is K, which means they have 2 assault and defense and a maximum tow of 7, which means they are one of the, if at full strength, they are one of the most powerful infantry units I get.
Which is a scary thought, because 7-2 is nothing to laugh at. Most infantry units cap out at 5.
Yeah.
There are 1 or 2 I've seen on mine that aren't actually in play yet that are 6, which are German. Yeah. But most are 5, and that is already, for me, a big, impressive boon. But when it comes to the Maori division, you, I understand, have a little bit more information, Andy.
Yes, for this week's history segment.
What a perfect tie-in.
Yes.
We promise that Ethan was not a plug, not an industry plant. Ethan is, just a very well-timed bit of correspondence.
And I've been looking at these fellas and scary, very highly decorated. I'll give you the kickoff quote.
Let's hear it.
Give me the Māori Battalion and I will conquer the world. Quote, Erwin Rommel.
He's on the other team, though.
Yes, he had a lot of respect for these guys. He also, there's some quotes of him where he talks about them being both physical and spiritual, and to be wary of both. So I think he had quite a lot of respect for them, and researching them, I could see why.
Sorry, so who was that quote to, by the way?
One of his staff, I believe.
Oh, sorry. I think maybe he was talking to the Allied forces, just like giving
trying
them...
to initiate some sort of draft trade.
Yeah, I'm just... What other situation would you say that in?
No, I think he's just, talking about how good they are. But yeah, I'm just going to issue a quick blanket warning and apology. I am going to be butchering some names. I'm sorry. That is just going to happen. But yeah, let's get into it. The 28th Māori Battalion is part of the 2nd New Zealand Division, which is a fighting arm of the 2nd New Zealand Expeditionary Force during the Second World War. So I have both the 2nd New Zealand Division in the game and also the Māori Battalion. The overall New Zealand Division was 15 to 20,000 men, divided into 3 infantry brigades, each with 3 infantry battalions in them.
Okay.
As well as various artillery engineers, support units. The 28th Māori Battalion was a specially formed battalion that was at various times attached to each of the division's 3 brigades.
Okay.
So in 1939, before the war kicks off, but it's sort of in the air, the New Zealand Labour government, with Maori members of parliament, such as Aprina Ngata and various other Maori organisations, wanted to see a full Maori unit raised for service overseas. Sort of 2 reasons driving this. One, they saw that there's a sort of responsibility to citizenship, they viewed it as.
Okay.
The other is if they wanted to have a say in like shaping their future after the war, they needed to participate fully during it, they felt.
Seems fair, yeah.
So a quote from Aprina Ngata: "We are of one house, and if our Pakalia," which I think is the Maori word for white European descent people.
Okay, yes.
So if our Pakalia brothers fall, we fall with them. How can we ever hold up our heads when the struggle is over? To the question, where were you when New Zealand was at war? So they've got this, they want to get involved.
It's like a sense of duty.
Yeah, and proving sort of themselves so they'll get more of a say in shaping their future going forwards.
Pretty noble mindset, yeah.
There was some pushback on this, but they were ultimately granted the right to form their unit. There had been a Maori unit in World War One, but it was a support unit focused on trench digging. The 28th Maori, however, would be a frontline infantry unit, entirely volunteers, roughly 700 to 750 men in it, divided into 5 companies. which are organized along tribal lines. The tribes or nations of the Maori are called iwi. So A Company, drawn from the northern part of the North Island of New Zealand, they're called the gum diggers because of a history of digging gum in the area.
Okay.
B Company, they're called the penny divers in reference to the practice of diving for coins to entertain tourists in their home region.
It's not a practice I've heard of. That's pretty interesting.
The company drawn from the East Coast region were known as the cowboys because of the common use of horses for transport in that area.
Nice. Love a cowboy.
D Company, which is the whole South Island and the remainder of the Northern Island, was known as the Foreign Legion or the Nagati Walkabout. And the final, their headquarters unit, which was pulled from everywhere, in the name Odds and Sods.
I like that.
Yeah. So after 3 months of training, they have 681 men, and they set sail from Wellington aboard a famous luxury liner called the Aquitania. But I saw some pictures, and this just looks like a French palace, like on the sea. It's ridiculously ornate. And they go up the coast of Australia, sort of picking people up on the way. But one of the soldiers described the journey in the strait, sort of between New Zealand and Australia. 3 of the biggest ships in the world were thrown around like corks. We got sick as dogs. The waves were as big as hills for about 4 days. They're meant to be going to Egypt, but they get rerouted to South Africa due to fears of the Italians blocking the Red Sea. And the classic bit of bullshit here when they arrive in Cape Town. All of the white soldiers got shore leave while the Maori had to stay on board the boats because of apartheid and segregation. So even though they've signed up to fight for these people,
you have to stay on the boat.
Yeah, they eventually get invited to have lunch with the mayoress to kind of like throw them a bone almost because there's like restlessness growing. And they're given an hour of shore leave.
Fucking hell.
And given like this patronizing, like, you've better be on your best behavior. But apparently the locals were great to them, and like it all went well, of course. It's just these racist like governors.
Also crazy that these people are like, oh, I'm going to show up here to try and fight for the future of, I guess, well, the globe overall, but also our people. And by partaking in this war, we can do that. You better be on your best behavior. We've come here to win.
Yeah, we've come to help you. So from South Africa, they head up to Britain, where this is during the Battle of Britain. So they pull the forces there because they're worried about a land invasion. And they train there for 6 months before heading back to Egypt, all the way around the Horn of Africa again and up through the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. They get 300 more reinforcements. And that's when they're sent to Greece and they have their first engagements with the enemy.
Okay.
They're meant to go there, and there's meant to be 3 divisions to hold off like the push down from the north from the Germans through, I think it's Bulgaria and Yugoslavia.
Right.
There were only 2 there, so they're spread really thin. And the New Zealanders, including the 28th Maori, are tasked with defending the Olympus Pass. They're vastly outnumbered, and things get worse as the defences on the northern border completely fold and the Germans start heading in. Their brigade headquarters give the order that the passes should be held to the last man in the last round.
Okay.
However, the forces get so big that they eventually get the order to come back. So they start a sort of staggered retreat. In preparation for this, on the 12th of April, 1940... maybe 1941, the Maori set up a defensive position. And then the next morning, the cavalry division, which is their tanks, retreat back through their position in a rearguard action, which now means the 28th Maori are the most forward unit.
Okay. And there's what, like 750 of these guys?
Yeah. And there's tens of thousands of like
2 divisions.
Germans flooding into this region. They're part of those 2 divisions fighting against them. They remain in this position for 5 days, fighting pretty much the whole time. until they have to do a nighttime retreat while in constant contact with the enemy in heavy winds under a time limit because the Allies are going to blow a crucial bridge up, which they need to retrieve.
Oh my god.
So they're running out of time, they're outnumbered, and they're fighting in retreat, but they manage to get there like minutes before they're going to blow the bridge. And then they're sent to Thermopylae,
the board game
of 300 fame, the Pass of Thermopylae.
My god, you're really having trouble with that one.
Jesus Christ. Where the Spartans fought Xerxes. But eventually they withdraw from there and head to Greece. They left behind 10 dead and 81 prisoners of war. But this is when they go to Crete next, which is when Operation Mercury happens, which is the airborne invasion of Crete.
Oh,
the first of its kind in military history. And they were mainly focused on the airfields, but the Maori weren't there, so they weren't initially involved in the fighting. But a bunch of Nazi paragliders did arrive and get in a house nearby, which in the battalion diary, they describe it as, they moved out to mop up enemy vicinity in the vicinity of a beach house. In the diaries of individual guys, one of them mentions what happens. They're fighting 18 paratroopers who are holding the house with machine guns. The house is surrounded by like completely flat land with like almost no cover. As soon as they get into the open, German aircraft start strafing them. So they're crossing, I think, 250 yards of open ground into machine guns while 12 planes harass them. They kill 10 of the Germans. And
of course.
And 8 of the Germans surrender and are taken prisoner. They then take those guys and head back to their base camp, all the while being fired on by strafing aircraft. They sent 45 guys out to do this. They had 2 casualties. The casualties were slightly wounded. That's it.
God, could you imagine being in those planes trying to strafe that situation where it's like, all right, they're moving in. Oh my God, they've got them. Yeah. Oh my God, they're taking them back to their camp.
Yeah. While this is happening, Company B, the penny divers, they get dispatched to relieve an airfield 8 miles away through the middle of the night because the commander of 8th Company had been to the base like once. So they were like, you're the only guy who knows the way. Your company are doing it. So they just set off in the middle of the night. They run into a German platoon and manage to take them out. The Germans surrender, but it's a trick. And one of the Germans throws a grenade, killing 2 of the New Zealanders. The Maori do not take well to this. They affix their bayonets and charge.
Oh my God.
For what will not be the last bayonet charge of the war for them. They kill 24 Germans in a bayonet charge.
Oh my God, that's so many.
And then they just keep heading towards this airfield, running into like pockets of resistance and just wiping them out. They get to the airfield, realize it's been abandoned by the Allies because they couldn't hold it, and are like, oh crap. So they just head back and just walk back to their place, fighting Germans the whole time to join up with their troops. And that's the start of... This is the start of the 28th Maori
That's the
Battalion
start of
building their legend.
You know what? We've had an email previously about this this particular group, and this one most recently from Athen. It was one that when we first heard about them, I checked for them in the book and couldn't find them. Didn't realize how small of a group they were, because I was expecting this to be a sort of division-sized group when I heard about them being this sort of quite famed and scary group of people. But yeah, to hear that they are a relatively small group and that they are just actually terrifying. Yeah, it's good to hear them in practice. I'm very excited to see where they go, because a bayonet charge in World War II is
it's sort of not the done thing anymore.
It's quite extra.
These guys make it work.
And also that bit where they're running back to the bridge, it sounds like the sort of thing you would have in like a video game.
Or
where, the amount of like different objectives. It's like, oh, you've got a time limit, you're being attacked, you've got to defend yourself as you run back.
Yeah.
It's just so many odds stacked against them.
Yeah.
They're mission impossibling the shit. And by the sounds of it, they're doing it with relative ease.
These guys are awesome. There's some quotes by them I'll get into next time, but they've just got a very cool attitude as well to the whole thing.
Well, I can see why Rommel was...
yeah.
The fact that he had this admiration for them by the sounds of it.
One thing I will quickly mention about them before we... Hitler personally got upset about them, and so did German High Command. Because after battles, they'd keep finding people who'd been bayoneted or, like, clubbed to death. And they were like, this is a war crime. Like, they were upset about how dangerous these guys were. And it's like, they weren't doing any war crimes. They were just charging into people, like, brutal melee fighting. But when German officers would find their bodies, they'd be like, how?
I love the aspect of confusion that the Axis forces must have had during World War II, because we've already had the description of the Long Range Desert Group appearing from the fourth dimension. Yeah. And then if they look elsewhere, it's like, people are getting fucking bayoneted. What's going on in this war? The North African campaign has proved itself to be a real enigma amongst the war. I'm very interested to see where these guys go, but they could well be even more badass.
Potential new favorites here.
Yeah, these guys are scary, and I'm even more terrified that they're in this game. Yeah. Are they in play currently?
I don't know. No, I don't think the second New Zealand is in just yet.
Because if so, I'm sorry to say, I will go for them first.
If they are, they'll be in Alexandria at the minute, but they arrive in North Africa later, so I think they might be one of the later
based on the journey you've described them having, going up to Britain and then back round. But I will have to go for them first. And the downside is as well, I know that if they ever beat any of my men in combat, I know that they get bayoneted or clubbed to death.
I feel like they should have a special rule where they just don't use as much ammo.
Ammo usage is halved for all of the Maoris. Well, yeah, I'm very, very excited to see where these guys go. Well, we'd have to quickly have a look at something, because we just had a quick break there, right after the history segment, and Andy, you've just showed me something I'm bewildered by. Turns out we've had a direct message on the website, and I don't understand it. So somebody sent over a message, and it's from supposedly Jeff Bezos, which I'm doubting slightly because of the content of the message. But it says...
The message text, all it is I need James to see this Heathcliff comic without context. And I link to an image where it's just a big piece of beef wearing shorts and a fez with a bee on it, surrounded by children. And it says, children love the beef buddies.
Can I see the comic again? What? What the fuck is this? So there's a cat. It looks like a cat with a little hat on. And I don't understand what this is. What the fuck is this? 2020. It looks like it's recent. And the kids are cheering. Children love the beef buddies. What is this? Who sent this in? Who are you? Jeff Bezos did not send this non sequitur comic.
So I guess we're asking for some context.
Yeah, you know what? I guess. Right, okay. So a bit of a different approach this week then. I think our common ground has to be, what the fuck is going on here? So I'm gonna make this the image on our Instagram for this post.
I mean, of course,
because I need to understand what this is. So, right, okay. Can you get any interpretation from this? I'll let you have a look over it, see if you can figure it out. I'm gonna have a look and see if I can find this comic. Children love the beef buddies. What is this?
Do you search that?
I'm going to search it. Well, I'm going to have to search it to find out if we need to scrub this whole segment if it's something particularly... Oh, you got a big spider on your wall there, by the way, buddy.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
He's crawling around. Cool. So I've searched this and nothing is coming up.
My top result says, why do children love to play in the freezer? Genuine question.
Right, I don't understand what it is that we've been sent. I don't understand what's going on. This has absolutely sent me down a... What the fuck have we just received?
What is this?
Okay, guys, I'm putting out a bounty, all right? Anyone who's listening, if you can find out any information on what this is, please explain. You know what? I hate stuff like this. I hate not having any context to something. I don't know why someone would send this to us. And why me as well? Why me specifically? I don't know anything about because Heathcliff's a character in Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
But Heathcliff, I've just searched there. It's some sort of like comic series. It looks Garfield adjacent. Yeah. I don't understand what this has to do with the podcast.
So we'd love to know what's going on there.
I don't understand this. Oh my god. So I'm going to make this the image. We post every week on our Instagram, War with a Mate. We put up a post to release each episode. So this week, I will be posting this picture of this comic as part of it. If anyone can look at that and figure out how that relates to anything. When did that message come through? 5th of June?
Yeah.
If anyone can figure out how on earth that relates to anything we've said or done, I will... I'll you know what? I'll be happy. I'll be happy. I don't understand what it is. It's just a bunch of kids worshipping a chunk of meat with a fez on. What does this mean?
Jeff Bezos has really sent us into a tailspin.
It's not Jeff Bezos.
It might be.
It's not. It's someone who's committing some sort of psychological warfare against me. Have you done this, Andy? Is this your doing? You trying to throw me off my game? It's so out there, and I don't like that it's targeted at me either. Also, this does not set a precedent. Don't send me stuff like this. I won't often read this out. This isn't going to be a regular segment where you send me some stupid shit and
decoding.
And I ask for everyone to decode it. Don't do that. But if you can figure out what this is, please do. I'm honestly, I'm scared.
You're genuinely trouble.
I don't know what's going on. What the fuck, beef? What have we talked about beef related?
I don't know, man.
Well, fucking nothing, I guess. First of all, 5th of June. What are we? It was the latest one we would have released then was the trucks. We're talking about trucks and shit. Oh my god, I don't know how anything could. Oh my god, this is a nightmare. This is a genuine nightmare. Fucking hell. I'm in a genuine loss for words. We're gonna have to call it there. Who's done this?
This has done the job of common ground. It's really brought us together in confusion.
It has. Whoever you are, if this is actually Jeff Bezos, I guess.
Now I understand why he's so rich.
If this is actually Jeff Bezos, I guess thanks for listening. I don't agree with your business practices, and I don't agree with what you're doing to me right now. But thanks. Just a little bit of a disclaimer, by the way. Don't use our website for that.
That's not what it's for.
That's not what the web form's for. It's not to send confusing pieces of art. Sorry, art's a very generous thing for this. Right, I'm gonna I'm going to head off now. I'm going to go home. I'm going to try and figure out what this is.
Okay.
I need to.
That's fair.
I need to think about what's going on right now.
All right. Stay subtle, humble, and brave, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see what's going on in the deserts of my mind, and I'll get back to you in a little while.
Any questions? info@warwithamate.co.uk or the form on the website or the Instagram. Fire them in.
Instagram is War with a Mate. Website is warwithamate.co.uk. Yeah, info@warwithamate.co.uk is the email address, and it's for questions, it's for comments, it's for information and opinions.
Prompts
it's not,
for the history segment.
Yeah, it's for that, and it's not for
Heathcliff comics.
It's not for Heathcliff comics, and it's not to be targeted at any one of us individually either. Don't do this.
This is a Pandora's box of nonsense.
Oh no, this is where it falls off. Well, have a good night's sleep. I know I won't. Peace out.
Thanks for listening.